Lovely. I'm joined today by Olga. Olga, you work in a business that works with modeling and algorithms and future trading prices. Wondering maybe you could tell us a little bit about what it is you do, what company you work for, and how it works with regards to the product that you represent.
I work for an Italian company called EQV, and we born in Italy, and we born actually covering the banking sector. And we have a system called Sphera, which basically has been adapted mainly like into the banking sector, but it can actually be adapted even into other industries. Our system, it's a very unusual and unique, as it provides a unique core into the system software of any organization. And that means we actually are able to provide a more consistent approach to system architecture, as rather than using integration, we have already something which it's unique. And when I say unique, it's because it's an holistic system, and so it allows communication and fast processes of information, but also it can be customized. And for example, in sub-area like risk management or trading, we can use AI and we can develop a customized fintech type of solution. I have to say our system has been quite successful in the banking industry in Italy, and we almost cover the entire market. We can say we almost have monopoly. And the success has been even the interaction that we have with clients. So we constantly have feedback interaction, but also clients are telling us what they would like to achieve, what type of solution, and we are able then to set up and the right, like a system fit for their organization. So our strength is in fact in the fact that the system can adapt to other organizations, which is different from other, for example, company that they provide a similar technology. But for example, in their case, there is the company organization, so the org that needs to adapt to the technology provider system architecture. And so obviously our system is a big advantage for the market.
So we've been watching the news recently, and obviously there's been a huge story as well on the BBC recently about anti-money laundering and other risk problems that the banks are having. But particularly we've been noticing that there's been a lot of press releases about how much the banks are spending on tech. I think JP Morgan have a running amount of 2 or 3 billion a year that they put into tech alone. I think Deutsche Bank as well press released earlier this year that they're putting similar amounts of money into their annual budget for tech. With all of this money being invested into tech by the banks, how can your product be better than anything they're able to find and invest such huge, colossal amounts of money into?
Sure. So I have to say we born actually covering the banking sector, as I mentioned before. And for us, the reason why we decided to come up with an architect a system that could actually be used on the fintech side is because basically we recognize the dynamism of the industry, the constant regulatory pressure and regulatory demand, and our system is capable to adapt and achieve, as I said, the fast processing and adaptation. What we've seen, and I've seen myself because I've been a risk manager for, in the past for lots of organizations in the City of London. What I've seen is that, as you mentioned, very often organizations spend an incredible amount of money on the tech side, but what they forget, even though we hear a lot, for example, the word strategic, is to use a more strategic solution. And when I say so, they forget about using what I like to be adapted even in the tech architecture, which is a top-down, bottom-up approach, Why is this important? Because if we consider the communication and as I said, the amount spent within the different area of a bank, we find that very often when management decisions are taken to invest in sub-area of the bank, they don't communicate with each other, first of all, so a huge amount is spent just in one area. And then when this application or system software is put up, this new technology is put up and is put to provide a more efficient module, to provide like a more competitive module, they forget that just integration is not enough, and sometimes even integration is not possible. So they ended up with spending lots of money in different areas, and at the same time using different technology, which at the same time they are very hard to communicate with each other, or if they communicate very little. So what happened is that when this happened basically into a bank, they basically spend more, and because there is more maintenance that they have obviously to keep within the time, but at the same time, as I said, is the miscommunication. And when I say miscommunication is because there is a gap within the framework, the IT framework, and this negatively reverts on, for example, compliance, governance, risk management. And I can make even a further tangible example. For example, we talked about in the past year how much stress the regulator put on enterprise risk management. And even though there's, it was something that was created outside of the regulatory spectrum, but why was put more emphasis even from a regulatory side on the enterprise risk management side and internal risk management? It's because every bank has, for example, different sub-area of risk segregated. So you will find market and credit risk, which are segregated. So all of them, they will have their own system, their own calculator, and this will eventually make them incur into double counting of risk or wrong calculation of capital. And what it means in terms of, wrong calculation of capital, what it means in terms of profitability of an organization, it means obviously less profitability, more volatile, cash flow and earnings. And of course, this will revert, on the reputation of the organization and gratification of the stakeholders, shareholders, and so on. So of course, having a unique system like us will prevent organization for incurring in these high maintenance costs and inefficiency, internal inefficiency, because what we provide with this unique core is a fastness, so more speed in the information processing and sharing within the different area, but also we improve the analysis of this information, the storage of this information, and we also allow the regulator to read information in an easier way. And so we allowed even internal management with the regulator to achieve triggering any sort of, action which will avoid into wrongdoing quicker than, arriving to a point in which, it's too late, and they incur into fines and in wrongdoing, and obviously, as I said again, it reverts on the reputation of the organization. We also, the fact that we can have this holistic system and have AI into it can allow organization at the same time to achieve a maximum efficiency in terms of costs, but at the same time, as I said, in terms of not just processing, but coming up with something that can make even a pure fintech product better developed.
Okay. The only concern I have with this is you're obviously very reliant and hopeful that the regulators will continue to innovate themselves and continue to use data appropriately. We're seeing central banks using data better, but have we seen regulators step up to it? Time will tell, I assume. What we have noticed about your product portfolio, though, is that you have a concept called the digital twin of an organization. I understand that this is a relatively new concept, and for those of our readers who may not be familiar with this concept, it's basically trialing your product before it actually happens. Yes.
So
Perhaps you can tell.
absolutely. So I have to say that first of all, the cooperation with Gartner allowed us to be classified as a digital twin of an organization type of product and software, and at the same time allowed even Gartner to recognize that DTO is something that it can actually be tangible and it can be realized physically. And what is a digital twin of an organization is the capability of having of a system to be able to replicate all the processes of an organization. Now, saying in simple terms, we see our competitors very often, as I mentioned before, restraining organization in adapting their system with their infrastructure, IT infrastructure, with their own system software. But the uniqueness again on our Spira is the fact of our DTO product is that we completely adapt. So we don't just replicate, but we can adapt completely to the organization with this replication. And of course, this is a big advantage because especially when for clients that have been onboarded, it allows us to develop even other area for which maybe they might have not been signed up, because even though it's a unique system, each different organization can decide if they want to subscribe for the entire package and unique system that covers the entire area of the bank. But at the same time, they can even decide to only subscribe to different area like compliance, audit, and risk management or trading. And once though they've been signing up with us, so they've been onboarded, even though they only subscribe to one area, as we have been using DTO principle and so replicating everything, we have already all the elements of the organization, and it's going to be so easy for us to act and add extra content and develop every other customized, like a specific, product in other business area.
So we recently covered a story with a company called Nice Actimize in America, and they monitor traders and their activity and the voice they use on calls with customers and what have you. Can you perhaps give us an example of how your software would work on employee sentiment, maybe market behavior, employee behavior, how you would data mine that and how that would be presented?
Absolutely. So it's important to highlight that we've been around for 25 years. And what it means is that it's very difficult for a system to survive 25 years. There are very rare systems around that are still up and running and actually are...
COBOL was one of the systems we've heard of that survived that long. So
yes, and so this uniqueness of even like having lasted so long put us in being a more resilient type of system, which nowadays resilience is what it's a major aim for any organization to achieve excellence. What it means also is that for 25 years we've been able to combine and group technology and system from different areas. So we have literally 24 technology, including AI, they've been grouped in a unique system. If someone tried to replicate our system, it's going to take them a very long time, and it's going to cost them a long time. And we are pretty confident it's going to be very difficult to maintain and achieve. Now, because of this uniqueness of, being, a system composed by, 24 other technology, we've been able to provide a methodology as well, which is quite successful, because our methodology achieve not just like key information processing and replication, but we have some sort of flags. So when the communication, information streams within the entire organization, it can actually be streamed into different areas in a very short period of time, even to flag wrongdoing. This is in very simple terms. So what it means is that eventually, very soon, not far, but very soon, if you use our system, you will be able to flag and trigger any, as I said, wrongdoing processes from a compliance governance, point of view. So anyone in the organization will be alert. Obviously, you will be in various roles. They will be appointed as, specific user for, flagged, specific type of information. But then, once it is set up, and the regulator, all the regulator and central banks that, we've been working with, European Central Bank, Italian, bank, and, central bank and so on, when we be using, when they know that, any organization use our system, they know that these flags, can be very helpful and can help, the organization, as I said, again, achieve and, mitigate any wrongdoing within the organization. They can act very fast. And once this is flagged, as I said, they can act very fast, and they can immediately make a change to counteract, as I said, any, like incorrect, position and incorrect, information usage and so on.
Okay, to come up with these products though, you must have quite a good product development team. How does the product development work? I mean, is it the regulators? Are you sitting with the banks? How do you develop the products?
So the way we develop the product is we have our own development team. So we started with 3 people in the organization. This was 25 years ago, and then it expanded. So we do have, we are, not a huge size organization, because we have 15 people inside, but still those 15 people, because of already having done the majority of work, which was creating this unique core system, we just need to develop customized product. And so that's why we can be competitive even in terms of timing, because we can obviously achieve in the very short period of time, even with the development team that we have, the right solution. And how we do it, we communicate with clients. So the clients will tell us the solution that they want to see. They want to tell us, they will tell us the ultimate the ultimate problem solution, or the ultimate product or goal to achieve. Then we will work on that, and we will come up with for us it's very easy to digitalize anything, and so we will come up with a solution. Also, again, a key aspect is even into our methodology, because our methodology is able to fit any information or new process within the system, which is already the core system, which is already being implemented, and it's already been built and architected in the past. So for us, it's very easy to adapt to this new information, but at the same time, or develop new product. But at the same time, if we don't find an immediate, right fit, what we see differently from other, providers, is that we can very easily, achieve a new path, getting a new path, and at the same time we won't lose anything that was done up to that point, and also we can build any new information. So this is our development works. So key aspect is having an holistic system, achieving through our methodology. So it's bottom up, top down approach, and also the methodology key of having the information perfect fit whenever we want and wherever we want. We obviously always ask, so we work on internal, for example, from a risk management point of view or internal control point of view. So we work for internal, internal modeling. So in that case is that, the bank can provide us, an overall overview of what they would like to see, and then we will come up with the solution. Some other time we can come up with our own, solution, and, product, and they can be happy about it, or we can alter it further, we can customize it, or we can also take regulatory, like requirement, and so build any regulatory model. And so in that case, we just studied the regulation itself, and we built, model which are literally, replicating what the regulator, requires each organization to apply.
So speaking of the regulators and central banks, and the word resilient, I think is the word that you've been using a lot. Clearly they're looking for a partner who's able to be resilient, but we noticed that a lot of central banks and a lot of regulators vary by jurisdiction. So Switzerland, Europe, Italy, they don't have exactly the same regulations or exactly the same central banking standards. So how do you keep on top of this? How do you work with the different regulators and central banks?
We have, of course, different, as any bank has different, legal entity, and they're different legal entity, obviously, like, we report to different regulator. So we have, again, as we have a DTO, so we are a digital twin of an organization, and we have a digital twin of organization system. So we are able to have replication of legal entity, and we also, we build models or modules that we replicate that within our unique core system. With the difference though, that again, there is the advantage of, having the information speeding across and, going across the entire organization, even though they might have different legal entity, because they will be still core value, core, principle within, the same organization, even if they're based in US, even if they're based in Italy, but still they will have some core, principle for which the organization need to act in the same way. So, and this comes as an advantage because you can somehow, specify yourself from legal entity, a regulatory requirement for a specific country, but at the same time, you can use, the system to, communicate across the organization and flag again wrongdoing across the organization, or, achieve, a certain type of product which it can be a competitive advantage on the market.
Okay, I'm sure you have a lot of success stories that you'll be able to share with us, but I don't want to keep our audience waiting too much longer. Olga, it's been fascinating finding out more about EQV and about your product. I hope very much that we'll be seeing your product in more European countries and maybe other countries and other continents as well. Perhaps Asia will probably be a market you'll be looking at in the near future. It seems like they need technology like this, especially with China opening up the way they are recently. So Olga, thank you again. It's been a really, really fascinating discussion, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.